That's a great question. There are plenty of resources available out there that you can use, free templates. So here are a couple. There are 3 websites. They have tons and tons of different templates that you can use to change up the style of your retrospectives, to make it more data driven, to make it more visually collaborative. Fun retrospectives, tasty cupcakes, retromad. There's also another one called ideaboards.com. So there are a whole bunch of different ones out there that can give you access to these freely available templates. So you can literally lift and shift them into your ecosystem and start to change your retrospective ideas based on that. So you don't have to go through the same thing, which you're right, becomes boring and mundane after a while. Yeah. So you can note the link put in the chat window, everybody. That might help you in the future. Mind mapping is an amazing concept in terms of continuous learning. It's definitely something that can give you a more 3-dimensional view of all the different things that you want to keep track of. So there is no prescription as such of how to write a user story format. The one that you just listed, which is as a, which I'm assuming you're talking about the who, what, why format. That's a recommended format. That's something that has gained a lot of popularity, but you can write stories in pretty much any way you would like, as long as they are valid and demonstrable, and they really talk about who you're building this for. So those are the 3 key aspects of any narrative or any user's story that you want to convey. You can write them as a one-liner also, just like a high-level test case, and verify that this happens if you do this. You can write them in programmatic styles as well. Like if this happens, then the user will do this, else the user will do that. So you can write them in any way you like. The who, what, why, or that as a, I want, so that format has become very popular because it talks about those 3 critical aspects of the narrative, which is who are you doing this for, which tells you the persona, which can give you a good delineation between, say, customers and users and things like that. Then the what is the actual content or the requirement. And then the why is the business benefit. So it helps you prioritize, because if you know why you're doing it, then you can prioritize this versus something else. So it's just a popular format. There are also other formats, like there's something called as jobs to be done, which has its own version of how you write those things. But at the end of the day, it's just a programmatic style of writing, what you're doing, why you're doing, who you're doing it for, what are the expected outcomes and things like that. As long as it gets that job done, it tells you exactly what the context is. Absolutely. Also, if you're looking for a resource, here's a really cool sort of collection of different types of user stories and formats. Put this in the chat window. It's the book is called User Stories Applied by Mike Cohen. It has a lot of different examples of how you can write the same thing if you don't want to write into the as a, whatever, who, what, why format. So another resource to keep in mind. Yeah, if you want to switch it up, that's totally fine. The idea of a Scrum Master facilitating it is that this person has invested professionally in learning how to facilitate conversations, which means at certain times, they will not be emotionally associated with the outcome of the conversation, or they won't be attached to the outcome, but they are attached to the journey of the conversation. So a lot of times the Scrum Master is focused on understanding who is a visual thinker, who is a data-driven thinker, who is an introvert, who is an extrovert, how people communicate these ideas. They're watching for those kinds of rabbit holes, right? If a delivery team member wants to experiment with that facilitation, by all means. I mean, I always encourage people to switch those things around. It's just that the Scrum Master is probably better positioned to do that because that's what they do for a living. So if you do this for a living, then you would be thinking about this more than everybody else, which just puts you in a better position than that. But you can sort of always tag team those things, and you can see if a development team member certainly has curiosity and wants to do it, by all means, try it out. Yeah. So as long as you're able to get to something actionable and you talked about the right things, then yeah, that's a productive retrospective. A retrospective can be done in 10 minutes also, right? 10 minutes, you all talk about the one thing that you want to capitalize on for the next time box and the one thing that bothered everybody that we should not be doing. If you get 2 actions out of that, that's a great retrospective. Right? When I was a Scrum Master back in the day, I used to do 10-minute, 15-minute retrospectives all the time. Just everybody huddle around the team area real quick. We're just going to talk about a couple of things. As soon as we get action items, we get 2 action items, and that'll keep us busy for the entire time box. We're done talking. We don't have to sit and talk for 60 minutes. Right? So you can change those things up. Like I said, again, it really is about what you're positioning yourself as, right? So I'm not saying fake experience, but a lot of times skills and experience are transferable across roles and across industries. Familiarize yourself with what a Scrum Master does. A good reference for that would be here, this website, scrummasterchecklist.org. It's a comprehensive checklist of the kinds of things Scrum Masters would typically be doing. If you have done these sorts of things in your past experience, great. Then you have been a scrum master without being called a scrum master. Or even if you haven't done all of those things, you've done some of those things, you can show growth areas and you can show curiosity. So a lot of companies are always looking to hire people who have not done these kinds of jobs also, because they want a diversity of thought, right? So take advantage of those kinds of things also. Don't let that dampen your spirit or stop you from applying for those jobs. By all means, go out there and apply. There's always people looking for, like I said, that diverse thought. Like, at least when I'm hiring, I always think like the last thing I want is another person who thinks like me. I already have that. I want somebody who doesn't think like me. I want somebody who disagrees with me, who sees things in a different light, because that will bring in a fresh perspective. And a lot of people are looking for those kinds of perspectives. So I would say, go forth and apply. Absolutely. All right. I think those were all the questions. So I hope this was fun, everybody, and hope you got something that is actionable that you can take away. I'll try and do this one again next month. If you're interested in coming for these sessions, then reach out to the person who you reached out to when you got invited to this, and let them know that, hey, put me on the roster for whenever this thing is happening again, and they can send you the invite. Other than that, we're done. Reach out anytime. I'm active on LinkedIn and stuff. If you have questions, I'm happy to share like resources, references, and things like that. Other than that, take care, everybody. I hope this was fun, and have a good evening or the rest of your day.